The class today is being taught by Kevin, and he will introduce himself after I read you a few rules. The class is called the 1 hour per week marketing system for Facebook. Can you all hear me, by the way? Okay, wonderful. So because it's a CE class, there are some rules. So you must be on camera. You are technically allowed 5 minutes per hour to be gone. So if you need a potty break or a drink break, but any more than 10 minutes, you will not be able to get credit. And if your name that shows is not your name as per your realtor name, or as you are on the multi-listing service, would you just put that in the chat so that our teacher can credit you for the hours? So any questions, let me know through the chat, and I'll hand you over to Kevin, who will be our teacher.
Awesome, thanks. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. I saw a thumbs up. Perfect. All right. Do I have the ability to share my screen? I think I do. All right. You should be seeing my screen now, correct? Okay, awesome. Cool. Well, then we're all set. So I appreciate the introduction. And like was mentioned, today's class, it's the 1 hour per week marketing system using Facebook. So this is 2 hours of elective credits. I always think it's kind of funny that the division of real estate thinks that marketing your business is an optional skill. That always makes me laugh a little bit, but I'm not the one who creates the rules. They're the ones who decide what's core and what's elective. So this is, like I said, 2 hours of elective credits. When we teach online like this, one of the things that becomes a little challenging is interaction. So if you want to interact, feel free to unmute yourself, ask whatever questions. I'm pretty casual and pretty laid back. If you prefer to use the chat, I've got the chat box open. I'll keep that open and just continue to monitor that through the class. So feel free to ask whatever questions you have. With that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into it. So the focus on today's class, here's what we're going to cover. First of all, we're going to talk about how to know exactly what it's going to take to reach your business goals. Right now, with it being the beginning of the year, lots of people thinking about what it is they want to accomplish, what the next 12 months of their business is going to look like and how they're going to get there. So I'm going to walk you through that a little bit and show you from a numbers perspective how to take those goals and equate it to what I'm going to teach you today with Facebook and social media. The second thing we're going to talk about is that biggest secret about Facebook that's staring you in the face and you might have missed it. So it's one of those things where once I tell you it, you're going to say, yeah, Kevin, I already knew that. But there's a good chance you're just not putting that to use. And that's one of the major reasons why people are not getting better results with Facebook, is because of this one secret. Next thing we're going to talk about is how to build a massive pipeline of leads in Facebook, 5,000 plus, 10,000 plus, whatever number you want to get to. One of the beauties about Facebook is you can really scale this to whatever level you want to scale it. So we'll show you how that works and how to do that. Also going to talk about how to build or how to beat the Facebook ad targeting changes. So last year in 2020, and they started doing it in 2019, Facebook started making some significant changes to their ads platform because of anti-discrimination. So they took out a lot of targeting options that used to be there. And so the end result was there was a lot of agents who just thought it wasn't the same opportunity that it once was. And so they got out of this, and I'm going to show you how you can actually beat that. I'm also going to show you how you can create a marketing system that'll fuel the rest of your business in less than 60 minutes a week. I mean, that's really the focal point of today's class, is how to get all your marketing done in less than 60 minutes a week. That's really what we're going to focus on. And then the last thing is I'm going to show you tons of screenshots. One of the things people love about the way that I teach is I will not teach you theory or what could work, right? I'm going to show you actual screenshots, actual campaigns, the things that people are doing that are actually getting results. That's what I'm going to share with you today. So that is our agenda for the next 2 hours. That's what we're going to cover. If we can cover all that, that'll be time well spent, and it'll help you grow your business. So with that, let me introduce myself a little bit. So again, my name's Kevin Smolin. This is just a couple pictures of me and my family. So me and my wife, we've been married for almost 24 years now. Been just a couple of years. We have 2 kids. So my son is 19, and then my daughter is 15, almost 16. So those are our 2 kids. They're awesome. And one of the things that we've done together, as you see here, we went and got we're all black belts in karate. So you know on Facebook how things pop up that you click on and engage on. Well, I'm sure it doesn't shock you. There's a fair amount of martial arts stuff that pops up in my Facebook feed because of that. And I once saw this T-shirt that somebody was selling that said, on the front it said, "I'm a black belt," and then on the back it said, "Touch me and your first lesson's free." I always thought that was kind of funny. I almost bought the shirt, but I ended up not. So anyway, that's just a little bit about us. My background and how all of this came to be is that when I was a 22-year-old kid, that was 23 years ago. If you can do math, now you know how old I am. But when I was 22, I went and got my real estate license, and I figured that was the way that I was going to make all my money on this planet. And I really knew nothing about nothing. I didn't even own my own home, never bought a home. I literally knew nothing. My marketing strategy was that I had a license that said people could do business with me. That was my marketing strategy. So if any of you are relatively new and that's kind of what you're expecting to do business, I don't recommend that business strategy. It didn't work real well. So like a lot of agents, I struggled. My broker, when I went and talked to him and said, "Hey, I need some help," he told me to do 3 things. He said, "Get a list of for sale by owners. Here's a script, start calling. Get a list of expired listings. Here's a script, start calling. And put together a list of all your sphere of influence, your friends, your family. Here's another script, start calling." And frankly, it just didn't go real well for me. I don't know if I was bad on the phone. I had the wrong scripts. I don't know what it was, but I just didn't see a lot of results from it. There's a statistic that says that 87% of agents fail within the first couple of years. From my perspective and my experience, a large part of that has to do with they just don't have a strategy to grow their business. They don't have a plan to market themselves and bring in new opportunities. And so hopefully with what you're going to learn today, you're going to be able to cut that curve and be able to make things work. But that's what happened to me. So I lasted a little less than 2 years. And for me, that's where everything started. So I'm a super competitive person. The fact that I didn't know how to generate business, that bothered me. And I spent the next 15 years studying everything I could about marketing, about lead generation, about business development, mostly because I just wanted to learn how to solve my own problem. I took what I learned, I started teaching other people. Their business was growing at a rapid rate. And frankly, that is how all of this started. So I'm sure it doesn't shock you. I did not graduate high school and say, what I want to do with my life is lead generation for real estate agents. That's not how all of this came to be. So again, that's my story. I started as an agent and failed. At this point, I've now generated over 40,000 leads for my clients online. And I was recently awarded as one of the top 25 real estate coaches in the country. Now, I don't share all of this to brag. That's not what the point is. It's really just to let you know my credentials. This is not my first time teaching this, and you are not my guinea pigs. The reason why I can share so many screenshots and share the stories and the information that I can is because I have a long history of doing this, and you get to benefit from that knowledge. So that's really why I share it, is you just get to benefit from all of those years of figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Kevin, could I just say, I forgot to mention, you're going to give some keywords, right?
Sorry, say that again.
You're going to give some keywords in your presentation that people are required to give at the end so that we know that they were listening.
That's news to me, but okay.
Okay, no worries. Okay, all right, no worries.
I guess the first keyword then is karate. We'll just make it up as we go. All right, fair enough. Do I have a certain number I need to give? 3? Okay, so that's number 1, karate. All right, perfect. So let's get into the first section of class. So talking about your business and marketing plan over the next 12 months. So a lot of times when you ask agents what their goals are, most people have a pretty good idea of what they want to do, either number of transaction wise or income wise, one way or the other. But then you ask them the next step of that, which is what's your plan to get to that goal? And that's where a lot of times people don't have a great plan to execute to get to where they want to go. So today we're going to help you with both. We're going to just figure out very quickly what your goals are and what it's going to take for you to get there, and then give you a plan that's going to help you get there. So with that being said, we are going to start this off doing a little bit of math. And I know everybody hates math, but the good news is if you can multiply and divide, you're going to be able to do everything that, that you need to do. Also, I highly recommend getting your phone out, cheat, use your calculator. It'll just make life a whole lot easier. So with that being said, the first question is, what's your, income-wise, what's the goal that you want to make for this year? I think most of you already have a pretty good idea of what that is. So whatever that is, just feel free to go ahead and jot that down. The second question is, what's your typical sales price? Obviously, some are going to be higher, some are going to be lower. I'm not worried about either end of the scale, just kind of looking for some middle ground. So on average, what's your typical sales price? In the example I'm going to show you, I'm going to pick 300,000 as the average, even though I would suspect, especially with today's market, most of you are probably well above that. Right. The third question is, what's your typical commission rate? So all we're trying to figure out with this is, what is your average commission per income? At the end of the day, that's what we're trying to figure out. So if you know what your average sales price is and what your typical commission rate is, it's easy to figure out what your average commission is. So in my example, if I'm averaging 300,000 per transaction, that's my average sales price, and I'm earning a typical 3% commission. It's just simple math. And the funny thing is I meet lots of people who tell me they're terrible at math, and I've never met an agent who can't do 3% math. Every agent I've ever met can do 3% math. It's kind of weird how that works. So in this example, if I'm selling 300,000 as my typical sales price at 3%, that means $9,000 is my average gross commission per transaction. Okay. And then from there, frankly, it's just simple math. I'm going to take my income goal that was the very first line, and I'm going to divide by my average commission per transaction. So in this example, if I'm earning on average $9,000 per transaction, and I want to make $150,000 this year, it's just simple math. 150 divided by 9,000. The math on that comes out to 16.6, which means on average, you can't have 0.6 of a transaction, so we just round up. It's going to take me roughly 17 transactions to get to where I want to go. Okay. Now, obviously, these numbers are being calculated based on gross commission. If you prefer to do it on net, feel free. It's the same math. You're just subtracting your fees that you're sending, that you're paying for your brokerage. But again, whether you want to do it on net or whether you want to do it on gross, feel free, but it's the same math. It's just your income goal divided by your average commission per transaction. So with that, you now know how many transactions it's going to take you to get to whatever your income goal is for the year. Okay. Any questions on that so far? If you do, again, feel free to unmute or use the chat, whatever. But that part's pretty straightforward. So now the question starts becoming, all right, now that we know how many transactions it's going to take, let's start figuring out how big of a database you're going to need to get to that goal. What is it realistically going to take to get there? So for that, I've taken this quote from that book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. A lot of people love it. A lot of people hate it. I don't really care whether you love it or hate it. It's the principle that I want you to understand more than anything. So this is a quote right out of the book. It says, "Our research and experience have taught us that for every 50 people you market yourself to 12 times a year, you can reasonably expect to generate one sale." So at a 50-to-1 ratio, you'll have to have 2,500 people in your database to consistently hit an annual goal of 50 closed sales. So with that kind of concept behind us, what I'm going to be teaching you today is how to use Facebook as a marketing database. where you're just going to be repetitively marketing to people over and over again. Facebook will become the marketing database where we're going to be collecting all these contacts and just repetitively marketing to them. That's what I'm going to teach you today. So with that, let's just talk about how this plays out with digital marketing. Now, with this particular screen or this particular image on the screen, it's not going to make a whole lot of sense. So here's the easiest way to make sense of it. We just did some math to figure out how many transactions you're going to need per year to get, or this year to get to your income goal. So with that being said, what I want you to do is look at these three boxes and look at that bottom number where it has 18, either 18 closings, 37, 75, etc. So all I want you to do is just pick the box that's closest to the number of transactions that you're looking for. And then with that, I'm going to go through and explain what this means. So the point of this particular slide is, as we get going in today's class, one of the questions that everybody always asks me is, Kevin, what's it going to cost to get to where I want to go on Facebook? Well, great. Let's answer the question right now, and then we can spend the rest of the class showing you how it works, right? So what I'm showing you are some calculations based on two different assumptions. Okay, those two different assumptions are the two things that are listed at the top. So the first thing is it talks about a 1.5 cent cost per impression. So I realize I'm speaking Facebook language, so if you're not familiar with that language, let me explain what that means. When you're running paid ads on Facebook, every time your ad is shown, Facebook calls that an impression, right? So when it's talking about a cost per impression, Facebook is telling you that's how much it's going to cost to show your ad one time. Now, the typical cost for Facebook is roughly 1 cent. So if you were to show an ad to 100 people, it's roughly going to cost you $1. Facebook ads are insanely inexpensive, right? You know, think about what it would cost to send out 100 postcards, right? Well, Facebook, it's going to cost you $1, right? It's insanely inexpensive. So one of the first assumptions I'm making is I'm being conservative. I'm bumping that up to 1.5 cents just to be a little bit more conservative. Okay, the second assumption that I'm making is we're talking about a 100-to-1 ratio, meaning for every 100 contacts, one of those is going to either buy or sell in the next 12 months. That's the assumption that I'm making. So remember on the previous slide where it talked about a 50-to-1 ratio? I'm being conservative and I'm bumping that up to 100. Okay, so those are the two assumptions that I'm making with these calculations. Now, with that background, let's just go through and talk about these boxes and what it means. So I'm going to start with the yellow box on the left. So where it has 2,500 contacts, again, if we're talking about a 100-to-1 ratio, 1 out of every 100 of those people is going to buy or sell in the next 12 months. So that's where the 25 sales, that's where that number is coming from. That's that 100-to-1 ratio. That would get you roughly 18 closings. The reason I'm saying there's 25 sales but 18 closings is just simply because the total pool of business is going to be 25 transactions. What's the likelihood of you capturing all 100% of those transactions? Fairly low, right? Some of those people are going to work with someone else. They're going to go to a for sale by owner. I don't know. They're going to do something else, right? So I'm calculating a 75% closing ratio. If you're constantly marketing to these people and staying in front of them, you should capture the bulk of that business, right? So that's the 75% figure that I'm calculating. That's the difference between 25 and 18. And then if it's costing you roughly 1.5 cents per impression, what it's going to cost you to market to a database of 2,500 contacts is roughly in the range of $100 to $150 per month. So to reach your goals, you would need a database of 2,500 people spending in the neighborhood of $100 to $150 a month, and that would roughly be the result that you would have over the next 12 months. Okay, does that make sense? Any questions on that? And then the other boxes, it's just math, right? So if I need 5,000 contacts to reach my goal, then there's going to be 50 sales out of that group. I'll collect 37 of them. It's going to cost me roughly $200 to $300 a month. and so on and so on. Again, the benefit of this, especially with running ads on Facebook, is that you can scale this to whatever level you want to scale it. So if you want to get started with a shoestring budget, you absolutely can. You know, I would tell you, if you're doing anything to market your business, direct mail, postcards, I mean, frankly, just about anything that you would do to market your business, it's going to be far cheaper on Facebook just because of how inexpensive it is. I've never found anything that comes close to the cost of what you can do on Facebook. That's one of the reasons I love it so much. Okay. So again, the whole concept here is just letting you know right off the bat, for what I'm going to show you through the rest of today's class, this is realistically what it's going to take to get you to where you want to go. Okay. Again, the rest of class is going to be the how. How do we execute this? But this is just the high level picture. This is what it's going to take to get you to where you want to go. Okay, so now that we've got that out of the way, let's just start getting into Facebook. So a lot of times people get stuck in different places. Sometimes people get stuck on the technology. You know, one of the phrases I often hear in teaching this class is, well, Kevin, I didn't grow up with social media. And I always laugh about that because frankly, none of us did. It hasn't been around that long. So that's certainly one thing to keep in mind. But sometimes people just get stuck on the technology. Sometimes people get stuck on the time. They just don't have the time. That's a large part of the reason why I created this class, is just to get rid of that myth where people think that they have to spend their life marketing on Facebook. I'm going to show you how to get it all done in less than an hour of your time per week. Right? A lot of times people hear someone like me talk and they hear how awesome social media is. So they get started in doing this and they start posting and doing lots of stuff. And other than getting some likes and shares and comments, they just don't see a lot of results, right? I'm going to show you how to break past that. And then sometimes people are just missing the right strategy. I have found in most cases when people are active on social media, it's just that they're using the wrong strategy. A lot of times people think social media is the problem. And my experience shows that because I've got people who are absolutely killing it on Facebook, Facebook is not the problem, it's the strategy that's being used that's often the problem. So I'm going to show you the strategy that I implement with all my clients, something you can walk out and start doing today. So with that being said, let me share with you the single biggest secret that I could ever teach anyone about Facebook. Again, it's that secret that's staring you in the face and you just probably haven't recognized it yet. So let me share with you the biggest secret and let me make it as simple as I possibly can. Facebook is a publicly traded company. Okay, I can go buy shares of Facebook stock right here, right now, if I want to. So what that means is Facebook has shareholders and investors. And shareholders and investors love to see revenue from the companies that they invest in. So it makes you ask the question, what is Facebook's form of revenue? I hope that every single one of you realizes that 100% of Facebook's income model is advertising. That is 100% of their business model. All of their revenue comes from advertising. So knowing that, if we break Facebook down to sheer simplicity, Facebook is nothing more than a pay-per-view system, period. If you want more people to see your content on Facebook, Facebook is going to expect to be compensated for that. That's their business model. So the crazy recommendation that I'm going to give you through the rest of today's class is to run paid ads, because this is what allows you to show your content to the maximum number of people possible. The great news is that, like I talked about, Facebook is so insanely inexpensive, you can do this for a very small amount of money. But where people struggle the most is when they try to do this for free, right? They'll build a business page, they'll create lots of content, they'll post, they'll do all those things because it's free. And then when you start looking at the numbers, you're wondering why no one is seeing your content. Well, the reason why no one is seeing your content is because of the reason that I just mentioned, right? If you want more people to see it, Facebook's going to expect to be paid. That is the simplest way that I can boil down Facebook. What I'm going to teach you today is how to play the game and how to play a game really well. But you've got to understand that, because if you try to do this for free and you try to just post, you're going to find that you're not going to get very far, because the system is designed to punish the people who try to do it for free. So there's a term called the Facebook algorithm. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that if you've spent any time on Facebook at all. If you're not, what the Facebook algorithm is it's a complicated formula that Facebook uses to determine what content to put in front of you as you're scrolling through Facebook. Okay, they use a variety of different things as part of the algorithm. Part of it is the things that you're searching for and looking up. Facebook will put that kind of content in your feed. The second thing that's part of the algorithm is your interests. So things that you engage with. I mentioned earlier, since I like martial arts, there's a fair amount of martial arts stuff that pops up in my feed. That's the reason why. Your contacts, your people that you're friends with, the ones that you're better friends with, their content will show up more often. Your profession, that's part of the algorithm. Again, it's this complicated formula that Facebook uses to determine what to put in front of your eyeballs. Okay, so when we talk about this, here's how you can tell that Facebook provides preferential treatment to advertisers on their platform. So anytime you log on to Facebook, you're going to see the same thing like clockwork. Okay, when you log on to Facebook, the very first post that you're going to see is going to either be something that you frequently engage with, something you search for often, or it's going to be from a very close, friend on Facebook, somebody that you constantly engage with. The reason why they're going to put that content first is because Facebook wants to show you the best content first so that you spend more time on their platform, right? That's the way this system works. The second post down, when you look at it, it's going to be an ad. And the way that you can tell it's an ad is underneath the name of the company who posted it, it will say sponsored. Okay, anytime you see sponsored on Facebook, that's what that word means. It's a paid ad. Okay, from that point forward, you can count it. Every fifth or sixth post, like clockwork, it will be a paid ad. Okay, this is how you can tell that they give preferential treatment to advertisers. So the whole concept is we want to benefit from that. So every time people say, well, Kevin, anytime Facebook changes the algorithm, they think it's going to hurt their business. If you want to know the truth, do you want to know who the algorithm hurts? It hurts the people who are trying to do it for free. Guess who it benefits? The advertisers. The reason why is because if I'm an advertiser on Facebook and I'm spending money with them and I'm having a good experience, I'm going to purchase more ads, right? So the better experience they give you as an advertiser, the more money you're going to spend with them likely. Again, this is the way the Facebook system works. I don't want you to take my word for it. I want to show you how this works. So what you're looking at here, this is a screenshot of one of my clients' ad accounts, or from their Facebook page. Now, what it's showing you is it's showing you the number of people who have seen each of the posts, and it's showing you the engagement, clicks, likes, comments, and shares. Okay, that's what it's measuring. Now, just a little background on this story so you understand the screenshot that you're seeing. When we first started working together, they had about 300 people who had followed their page, right? That's how many people who had liked their page. And so before we started working together, they had signed up for one of those services where they just automatically publish content to their page. They'll post once a day or twice a day or whatever the frequency is, but they don't have to do anything. The company's just automatically pushing that content out to their page. And it sounds great because, hey, I'm getting new stuff posted to my page and I don't have to do anything. And then what happens is you go look at the numbers and then you realize it's not as awesome as you thought it was. So when you're looking at the column that's labeled reach, what that means is that's how many individual people saw that particular post. Okay, so think about this. If they have a page following of 300 people and they're posting content and 19 people see it, 23 people see it, 25, 34, The question is, why are so few people seeing it? Again, the answer is what we've already talked about. Facebook is a pay-per-view system, period. If you want more people to see your content, Facebook expects to be compensated for that. Yes, even the people who are following your page. So one of the myths that's out there about Facebook is if I can just have a page with lots of followers, that's the key to success. And you can see right here that that's just not the case, because Facebook is going to show your content to so few of those people that, to a large extent, however large your audience is, frankly, it doesn't really matter, because they're going to expect you to pay to get in front of more people, right? The ads that I've circled here, where it was $7.98, $7.88, and $4,600, the reason why more people saw that content, all three of those were paid ads. And you can see in the next column over for engagement, we're not only getting in front of more people, but our engagement percentage is far higher. So again, the number one secret I could ever teach anybody, if you're serious about marketing your business on Facebook, is if you are not running paid ads, you will lose. That's the biggest secret that I could ever teach anybody. So like I said, today's class is going to be focused on how to play this game and how to play it well, right? But you've got to understand this concept, because if all you do is build a page and start posting lots of stuff, you're just going to be spinning your wheels, because the simple truth is very few people are going to be seeing your content. Okay. So with that out of the way, now let's start getting into the strategy of how this works. I'm a huge believer in database marketing. I've seen this over and over again. I firmly believe that, especially in the real estate industry, where so much of it is based on relationships, because people do business with people that they know, like, and trust, that to a large extent, the size of your database is going to matter to a great extent to what your goals and what your success is going to be. So the focal point of today's class is I'm going to show you how to use Facebook as a tool to build a massive database. And again, you can scale this to whatever level you want to scale it. But these are going to be people who are going to be interested in real estate. They're going to be watching your videos, clicking on stuff, liking, commenting, sharing, right? They're going to be the ones who are interacting. It's going to be super inexpensive to set up and to maintain. And again, I've shown you some numbers. I'll continue to show you some statistics and numbers from my clients' ad accounts as we progress. It's going to show you how to do this in less than an hour of your time per week. And you're not going to be dependent on Facebook targeting anymore. So again, I mentioned at the beginning of class, Facebook, they changed some of the rules as far as ad targeting goes. And so a lot of people stopped advertising because they thought it wasn't the opportunity that it once was. I'm going to show you how to beat those rules and make it work for you. And frankly, it's all about the database. So the strategy that I want to teach you is this. The strategy that I implement with my clients is where we have 2 ads running at any given time. One of those ads is going to be going out to a new audience of people that don't know who you are. And the intent of that is to turn that into a lead and add new people into this database or this funnel. Okay. A lot of people think that generating leads is the hard part. It's not. I'm going to show you some numbers and statistics, but generating leads, frankly, is super simple. The harder part is taking those leads, getting them to know, like, and trust you, and turning that into tangible business. That's the bigger challenge. So again, we run 2 ads at any given time. One with the focus of going out to a new audience of people to generate leads. We then take those leads, put them into this structure that I'm going to show you how to create inside Facebook, where we repetitively market to them. And the second ad is focused on building trust. Again, to a large extent, most people in real estate are doing business with people that they know, like, and trust. So a large part of the game is getting people to know, like, and trust you. So we will run ads for that purpose, where it's all about, going down that line on the side. It's about making them more aware, increasing their interest, getting them to the point of making a decision, and then ultimately using you as for the transaction, right? But it's a process. So a lot of people think that if I generate a lead, I'm going to go out and show homes to that person tomorrow. Don't get me wrong, that happens, but that's the exception to the rule rather than the rule itself. right? Most of the people who are responding to your ads today are the people who are going to be doing business 30, 60, 90 days out. So to a large extent, the name of the game is repetition, nurture, just keeping in touch with people. That's the way you're going to build trust and get them to feel confident working with you to help them either buy or sell, whatever the situation is. So this is just the overall strategy. One ad to add people to the database, a second ad to keep in front of the people in the database and build that trust. So there's a combination of different styles and different things that we do to accomplish this, but I like to call it the obscurity solution. I firmly believe that the number one reason why people don't have more business than what they want is simply because people don't know you exist. If people knew you existed, if they knew your background, if they knew your training, your expertise, if they knew what you were capable of helping them with, more people would do business with you. The problem is a lot of people, especially as they're just getting started, it's this obscurity problem. Nobody knows that you exist. And even if they do know you exist, they may not think of you as the real estate agent. They may think of you as the friend, the family member, the coworker, whatever that relationship is. So there's a process to this. But one of the great things about Facebook is it's a super powerful tool to help you break out of obscurity for a very inexpensive amount of money, right? Again, it's just this principle that if more people knew, you would have more business. And that's what I firmly believe. So again, I talked about this. The strategy that I'm going to teach you is to do 2 posts or ads per week. I kind of use those 2 words synonymously. But just realize if I say the word post, again, just please understand that if you post something to your page and don't spend money to get that out in front of people, you're wasting your time. So when I talk about an ad or a post, I'm talking about the same thing. We're going to spend money to put that in front of the best eyeballs possible. Okay. So like we talked about, it's this simple strategy of running 2 ads per week, right? 1 ad to generate leads and add people to the database, a second ad to build trust and cultivate those leads. The rest of today's class is showing you examples of everything that you see on the screen, right? But this is the concept. So when I'm talking about getting all of your marketing done in 1 hour per week, here's where that math is coming from. Think about it. How long does it take you to put together 1 post on Facebook? I'm being crazy and estimating, let's say it takes you a half hour, right? If it takes you a half hour to put together 1 post, I'm asking you to do 2 per week. That's where the 1 hour comes in. Okay. So what my clients will do, and this is what we do for the people that we work with, is we get their ads set up, we let it run through the week, and they get to go about their day doing what they want to do, whether it's showing homes or listing appointments or open houses or watching a movie with their family. But marketing is happening in the background and it's not actively taking their time to do it, right? That's another thing that I love about Facebook is it's a huge leverage of your time. For an hour of your time, you can set up some ads, have that running, and your business is growing without it taking your time to do it. You're just spending a little bit of money to accomplish that. So again, the rest of today's class is just showing you examples of pretty much everything that you see on the screen here. Okay. So just some key principles as we finish up just this overview. So principle number 1 is when you control the list, you're no longer impacted by the changes Facebook makes. So I mentioned in 2019 and in 2020, Facebook made some significant changes to their ad platform. The reason why is because they were sued by lots of people for discriminatory advertising. So they were sued by the Department of Housing and Urban Development. They were sued by Fair Housing Administration, lots of other smaller organizations for discriminatory advertising. Because in the past, you used to be able to target people who were homeowners or not. People based on their income, based on the value of their home, based on lots of things that were quote unquote discriminatory. So in response to those lawsuits, Facebook implemented some changes to their ad platform. And so those targeting options in the real estate industry are no longer available. But the principle that I want to teach you is this one, which is when you are the one building the database and you control that list, you're really insulating yourself from any changes Facebook makes, because they can make whatever changes they want to your ad platform. You're the one that's built your own list, and so it doesn't matter what changes they've made. So that's the first principle, is when you're the one controlling the list, Facebook can change whatever they want to change. It's not going to impact you at all. Second one, we've already talked about this. People do business with people that they know, like, and trust, right? You'll find that if you talk to your clients, 99% of the time, it has nothing to do with the brokerage that you represent, right? Most people, they're doing business with you because of you, that relationship. So if you think you're in the house business, you're wrong. You're in the people business. So to a large extent, the more we can get people to know, like, and trust you, the better your business is going to be. I'll get on my soapbox for a minute. You know, as the industry trends more and more towards like the iBuyers and Zillow offering cash for people's homes, and as the industry trends that direction, you know, getting away from the full service real estate agent model, I firmly believe that your competitive advantage is relationships. Because the one thing that none of those companies can duplicate is a relationship. So the more you can build relationships and have people realize that you are the go-to person for real estate, it only helps you with your business. And then the last principle is that slow and steady wins the race every time. The reason I cover this is because with what I'm going to teach you today, your success with what I'm going to show you is not going to be on any one ad that you run. Right? It's going to be the sum total of all those ads. So you're going to find that the more you can repetitively stay in front of people, the more your business is going to grow. So I'm one of those people that I just firmly believe that slow and steady is the way to go, right? We just want to keep building, 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 being consistent of being in front of people. And if we do that the right way, it's just math. It just turns into business, right? So that's the approach that I'm going to teach you today. Now, in order to do what I'm going to show you, you're going to need three things. Okay, you're going to need a business page. I would suspect probably 75% or more of you have probably already set that up. But you're going to need a business page to do what I'm going to show you. The major reason why is because we're talking about running paid ads, and you cannot run paid ads from a personal profile. Every ad is tied to a business page. So you have to have a business page to do what I'm going to show you. It doesn't cost you anything to set one up if you don't have one. It's just a matter of setting it up. But you will need a business page to do what I'm going to show you. The second thing you're going to need is you're going to need an ad account. I hope that's not rocket science. We've talked a lot about ads. You just need an ad account to be able to run the ads, right? Pretty simple. The third thing you're going to need is you're going to need a business manager account. Now, I know the terminology is similar, but a business manager account is different than your business page. A lot of what I'm going to show you, a lot of the screenshots and things that I'm going to show you today are actually screenshots from the business manager account. So what's happened in the past when I've taught this class is I'll start showing screenshots and examples, and people say, well, Kevin, I don't have that option on my business page. And my answer is, I know, because that's not where it's at, right? It's part of the business manager account, two different things. So here's the easiest way of explaining the difference, and hopefully it makes sense. So let's forget real estate for a second, and let's say that you own a retail store, right? So if you own a retail store, a brick and mortar retail store, people come into your store, you've got the area where they can walk around and shop and see whatever it is that you're selling, right? The Facebook equivalent of that would be your business page, right? It's what the customers see. It's the posts, the stuff that you're promoting. All of that would be the equivalent of the store where people just walk in and shop and take a look at what you've got, right? That would be the business page. But as part of your store, you've also got the back room, the part where, where customers don't go. It's where you keep your books and your inventory, and it's all the stuff that you need to run the business, but the public doesn't see it. Okay, the Facebook equivalent of that is the business manager account. Okay, it's not what the public sees. It's all the tools and the resources and everything that Facebook provides advertisers to run ads on their system. And a lot of what I'm going to show you comes from that business manager account. Again, it doesn't cost you anything to set it up. You just have to set it up. And where you go to set it up, it's right there on the screen. You just go to business.facebook.com. Okay. So if you haven't set one of those up, go set that up, right? And again, I'm going to show you a bunch of examples from that. So if you're sitting there wondering, do I have a business page or do I have a business manager account? Let me kind of show you the difference. This is a sample of a business page, right? This is probably what the majority of you are used to. So when you see something that looks like this, this is a business page. A business manager account looks like this, where we have our page and our ad account all tied to the same thing. But as you see on this screenshot on the left, you've got different tools like your ads manager and managing your audiences. In fact, a lot of the screenshots that I'm going to show you today actually come from that audiences section, where we're going to be controlling the list of people that we market to, right? So again, this is the business manager account. This is the business page. That's the difference between the two. Now, if you're unsure which one you have, one of the easiest ways of telling is if you go to your Facebook page, and you'll notice up at the top right, there's that little down arrow. If you click on that, it opens up this little menu like you see, and you'll notice the first section. See how it says your pages? Okay, those are business pages. The next section down, see where it says business manager? That's your business manager account. So if you're unsure which one you have, just go click on that arrow, take a look. But one of the other easy ways of telling is just go to business.facebook.com. If you go there and it doesn't take you directly to a business account, then you need to set one up. And there will be a blue button that says create account. Just follow the prompts. It's pretty simple. Okay. But again, the business manager is the tools and resources. The business page is where the people see the marketing. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. I just want to make sure that's clear because, again, one of the areas where people have gotten confused when I've taught this is some of the screenshots that I'm showing, they're like, Kevin, where is that on my business page? And then they get frustrated when I say that's not where it's at, right? It's in the business manager account. Okay. All right, so with that, let's go ahead and jump in. So what I want to start teaching you is how we build the funnel. How do we create this database of all these people that we can repetitively market to? The first area is by doing lead forms or doing a lead generation ad on Facebook. What a lead generation ad is here's an example of it. We would run an ad like this, and what happens is when they click on the ad, there's a form that pops up where we're capturing their contact information. Right. So one of the strategies that we use with a lead generation ad like this is we want to give them enough information about the home to get them excited, but there's some key information that we withhold so that they have a reason to engage with you. In this case, the information that we're withholding, as you see here, is the price, the address, and more photos. So if they want to see those things, that's why they're clicking on the ad. When they click on the ad, this lead capture form pops up. One of the great things about the lead capture form on Facebook is you can set it up that when people click on it and the form opens up, those fields will pre-populate with their account information that's inside Facebook, which more than often, it's correct. And because they don't have to type anything out, they usually just hit the submit button. They don't ever change it. So what I find is when I run ads like this, 9 out of 10 times, the information that we're receiving is actually correct. Right? There will still be some people who go through and put in bogus information. It's just part of the game. But more often than not, like I said, 8, 9 times out of 10, the information's correct because it's pre-populating with that information. Once they hit that button and submit it, it goes to a page where it's going to show them all the information about the house that we promised to give them. Now, what my clients typically experience with lead generation ads is we normally will generate a lead for every $1 to $2 spent. So in other words, when you're spending $1 to $2, your ad's being shown roughly to 100 to 200 people. That's enough visibility that normally somebody will fill out that form and give you a lead, right? So to kind of put that in perspective, if you were to go to Zillow, Realtor.com, any of those other lead generation sources out there, if you do the math of how many leads you're receiving versus how much you're spending, in most cases, especially in competitive zip codes, you're going to be spending upwards of $100 or more per lead. On Facebook, you can do the same thing for $1 to $2 a lead. Right. Again, I've never found anything that even remotely comes close. I can show you ad account after ad account where we're generating hundreds of leads for just a very meager budget. My clients who are typically spending in the neighborhood of around $300 to $500 a month on Facebook ads, what that's buying them, part of what that's buying them is they're usually generating in the neighborhood of around 250 leads per month for that amount. So it becomes a very inexpensive way just to have new opportunities coming in, right? But then what we're doing on the back end of things is Facebook has this section called custom audiences. Again, this is inside your business manager account. That's where you're going to see this particular screenshot. So a custom audience is where I can tell Facebook to group certain people based on certain activities or certain actions. So one of the audiences that I can create, as you see here that I've circled, is I can create an audience of people who have clicked on a lead generation ad where the lead form has popped up, right? So you can see here that the default setting is anybody who opens the form. So if they click on the ad and the form pops up, even if they decide not to submit the form and they click away, the mere fact they clicked on it, that automatically pulls that person into this list. Pretty cool. So it allows me to create this database of people that I know are remotely interested in real estate, right? Because they're clicking on the ad. That action tells me they're interested in real estate and that pulls them into this list. And now that they're part of this list, I can just repetitively market to them. As you see on the screenshot, Facebook allows me to track those people for 90 days. So once they're part of that 90 days, the next part of the strategy that I want to implement is I want to get them to do something else, because as you're going to see as we progress through class, if I can get them to go to my website or watch a video or click on something, like, comment, share, if I can get them to do any of those things, it extends the period of time that they stay in my database and I can continue to market to them. But this is the first level, is I want to create, not only can I use this to set up leads, but I can set this up to where I'm tracking those people and I can market to them long-term, right? So one of the things that makes all the difference in the world when it comes to leads, you know, if you're going to Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever, typically what you're buying is you're buying leads, a name, a number, an email address, and that's typically what you get. And then it's up to you to do whatever you're going to do with that. Well, the strategy that I'm teaching you is we can set Facebook up to track the people who became leads or were even thinking about becoming a lead, and we can keep in front of them. That is so much more powerful than just having a name and a phone number and an email address. Okay. So that is the first part of the funnel or the database that we want to build, is people who are filling out or opening lead forms. So we do that through the custom audience section in Facebook. Okay. Any questions on lead generation? Okay. Again, feel free to unmute yourself, use chat, whatever you want to do. Now, if you want some of our top performing real estate lead generation templates that we use, the sample screenshots of all the ads that we run, I'm happy to send you those for free. On the green section on this slide, it says, send me your business card. That'd be a nice feat for a Zoom meeting. But here, I'll do this real quick. In the chat, I'm going to put my email address. If you're interested in those templates, just send me an email, and I'm happy to send those to you. Right. But again, it's just this concept of we want to create new opportunities coming in. That's really what this is all about. And it's not just having those opportunities, it's just being able to keep in front of those people. So that's the first section of building our funnel, is the lead forms. Okay, the second part is building a funnel based on your relationships, your past clients, your sphere of influence, whatever you want to call that. So getting into this, Realtor.com, obviously they do tons of studies on this stuff all the time. And what they have found is that 83% of the time when people have worked with a real estate professional, they have said that that was a good experience and that they would be willing to refer that agent to someone else. Okay. So again, 83% of people said it was a good experience and they would be willing to refer someone else. Now, they asked a second question, and the second question was, if this was your second or subsequent purchase, did you use the same agent for this transaction as you did the previous one? Right? And the answer to that one is 22% of people said that it was the same. Right? So think about that for a second. 83% of people said, yep, great experience, be happy to refer them. Only 22% actually use the same agent again. So think about that for a second. Why is there this huge gap between the two numbers? My experience and my explanation of that is that typically what happens in real estate is people who are good salespeople, and again, I'm talking stereotypes. I realize there's exceptions, but the stereotypical real estate agent who's a good salesperson, what ends up happening is once they make a sale, their mind shifts to the next sale, right? They stop thinking about the sale they just had. And so that person gets forgotten. One of the things I'm going to teach you is that's a huge missed opportunity. Again, when we're talking about this concept of building a database and building relationships, this is one of those holes in your business that we absolutely want to plug. So if you haven't been marketing to your past clients or your sphere of influence, I really hope that the number one takeaway you have from today's class, whether you use Facebook to do it or not, I know that sounds weird coming from the Facebook guy, but I hope the number one takeaway you have is that marketing to your relationships is a really good idea for your business. I really hope that's your number one takeaway from today. So my experience in working with people is out of every 4 clients I personally work with, only one of them is doing anything to market to their clients at the time that I start working with them. So my experience is 1 out of 4 agents is doing anything, right? It's crazy when you think about it. And yet, when you talk to real estate agents and ask them where the bulk of their business comes from every single year, almost every single agent will tell you that it comes from their relationships. So if that's where the bulk of your business is coming from, here's a crazy idea. You might want to be a little more intentional in that area, right? It's just going to give you more results. So with that being said, again, the bottom line is if you're not marketing to these people, you're just leaving money on the table. That's the bottom line. So I believe it's your lowest hanging fruit because relationships is just one of the most overlooked sources of business. Right? These people, to a large extent, have already experienced what you do. They already know, like, and trust you at some level, right? They're most likely to tell other people, especially if they had a good experience. And they're most likely to work with you again if you continue to stay in touch with them. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I fully believe that these people are your competitive advantage as the industry trends further and further away from the full service real estate agent, right? This is your competitive advantage. So with that, let's just kind of go over the income potential real quick. So let's say that you have an SOI or past client database. Let's say you got 200 people. I would suspect most of you probably know more than 200 people, but we'll just use 200 as our number. Now, I hear different numbers. You can pick whatever number you want, but statistically, people tend to move every 7 to 10 years. So if that's the case, I'm just going to pick 10 because that's easier to do math with. But if people move on average every 10 years, what that literally means is 1/10 of everybody you know is going to be making a change in the next 12 months. That's literally what that number means. So if I know 200 people, if they're moving every 10 years, that means 1/10 of them are going to do something in the next 12 months. That means statistically, I'm sitting on 20 transactions. And if I have an average gross commission of $9,000 per transaction, which, like I said, most of you are probably well above that, 20 transactions at $9,000 a piece, that's $180,000 sitting in my database. Kind of crazy when you look at the numbers, right? And the other thing that I haven't even taken into consideration are referrals, right? What if 1 out of every 10 people gives you a referral? Well, that would be another possible 20 transactions at $9,000 a piece. Again, you can see the numbers just get super crazy in a hurry. This is why I firmly believe if you're not marketing to people that already know, like, and trust you, you're missing the boat. This is a great idea for your business. I hope you can see what you're possibly missing from this, right? And again, I would suspect most of you probably know more than 200 people. You're probably working with a bigger SOI than that. The biggest challenge is just having a way to consistently get in front of them. I'm going to show you how to fix that. So the formula that I recommend for marketing to your relationships contains 4 pieces. So the first piece is, we've kind of already talked about this, but I want to have an ad that's running every single week where I'm constantly marketing to those people that already know who I am, my sphere of influence, past clients, etc. So that's the first piece of the formula, is I want to have an ad always running that's always in front of them. So anytime they log on to Facebook and they're scrolling, they're going to see me. Right? That's the first piece of the formula. The second piece of the formula is, again, this is all about relationships. So I highly recommend connecting with people. Send them a private message a couple times a year. So 3-4 times a year, send people a private message and just connect. I'll talk more. I'm going to go through each one of these as an example, and I'll talk more about it. Third thing is, we want to make sure people receive something on their birthday. So you just want to make sure that you're there for that special day of the year. And then lastly, you kind of need to make some adaptations to this just based on the day and age we live in with COVID and whatnot. But prior to COVID, my recommendation was, at a minimum, you should be doing at least 1 client appreciation event per year, at a minimum, or doing an annual review. The annual review would still work today. So the annual review is basically where once a year, when you're reaching out to people, you're just going to say, hey, as a real estate professional, one of the services I provide for my friends and family is every year, I'm just going to put together a free market analysis for you, just so you can see the value of your home in today's market, right? Is it okay if I just put that together and send it to you, right? 9 times out of 10, people are going to say, yeah, that would be great, right? Now, the whole point of this is not getting a listing. I know that sounds weird. You'll bump into listings doing it, but that's not the reason why we're doing it. The reason why we're doing it is because of the referral conversation. So here's what I want you to be thinking about. We know that referral business converts at a very high percentage. And so obviously one of our objectives is we want to get as many referrals as possible. So with that being said, I want you to think about that referral conversation. When your friend or family member or whoever it is, when they're in some kind of a conversation with someone, and that person says, oh, we're thinking about selling, right? In that moment, you want your contact to say, hey, I know the perfect agent. You got to go talk to them. They're awesome. Well, if that person is smart, they're going to say, well, what makes so-and-so such a great real estate agent, right? I want you to be thinking about, what do you want them to say in that moment? Do you want them to say, well, Kevin's a great real estate agent because he sends me recipes every month? Right? I know a lot of agents that's their marketing. And don't get me wrong, at least you're in front of people. That's better than nothing. But strategically, is that what you want them to say, right? Do you want them to say, well, he sends me great recipes? Probably not, right? So that's the issue that I have with recipe cards or any kind of marketing like that, is it's probably not the way you want people speaking about you in your business. That's why my recommendation is this formula. What I want them to say in that moment is, man, he's super active. He posts all this helpful stuff on Facebook all the time. He checks in with me a couple times a year to make sure make sure the family's doing well and everything's okay. He sends me stuff on my birthday. If we get to the point where client appreciation events are more normal, they're going to say, well, they put together these awesome events. My family loves going. And he even tells me what my home's worth every year without me even asking. Right? If that's the way they speak about you and your business, now what's going on in that person's mind, right? This is all about just showing how you take care of your clientele. That's what's going to make you more valuable in their eyes. And that's why I recommend marketing the way that I do, right? So with that, let's just go through and break this down. So number one, marketing to your past clients and sphere of influence on Facebook. Right? The problem that most people have in executing this is the way that they try to achieve this is they build a business page. They use this community section on their page that you see right here, where they click on that button that says invite friends, and they try to invite all their friends and family members, right? There's two problems with doing this. Problem number one is that you're at their mercy, whether they accept your invitation or not. Some people will click on it and say that they want to like your page, and other people will completely ignore you. If they don't accept that invitation, they're going to be blind to any marketing that you do on your page. That's problem number one, right? You're at their mercy. The second problem is even if they do accept that invitation and they like your page, like we've talked about, to a large extent, if you're not running ads, when you post information on your page, very few of them are actually going to see it anyway. So again, those are the problems. Statistically, HubSpot, they're one of the leaders of social media testing in the industry. And what they have found is that when you post something to your page, on average, 2 to 6.5% of people will see it organically. Organically is just a word that means free. So what that means is if you had a page of 1,000 followers and you post content, on average, 20 to 65 people will see it for free. It's kind of crazy when you hear the numbers, right? So again, if you're not running ads, whether they like your page or not, they're probably not going to see it. So these are the problems that people have when they're trying to do what I'm teaching. So here's how we actually do it. One thing that people don't realize is that using that custom audience feature, I can upload a list of people to Facebook and I can run ads directly to that list of people. So I can take my client list, my sphere of influence list, whatever it is. I can take that list and upload it to Facebook and run ads directly to them. And again, just to put some numbers on this, let's say I have an SOI list of 500 people. Right? When I upload that list of 500 people and I want to run an ad to those 500 people, again, on average, it's going to cost me about 1 cent every time my ad is shown. So if I want to show an ad to 500 people, that's going to cost me roughly $5. Think about what postcards would cost you to 500 people, right? It's just, there's no competition. That's one of the reasons that I love this so much, is it's just insanely inexpensive. For what you would spend for one postcard to 500 people, I could show you how to market on Facebook to those same 500 people for an entire year for that same amount, right? It's just insanely inexpensive. So when we upload this, we're going to use a file that doesn't include LTV. Now, LTV, I know all of you are thinking loan to value, but that's not what it means on Facebook. What LTV means on Facebook is lifetime value, right? So it's not applicable for what we're doing, but just to give you an idea of what is possible. Let's go back to that retail store. Let's say you own a retail store. If I have a column on my spreadsheet that includes how much money people have spent with me, that's the lifetime value, Facebook will prioritize the ads to the people who have spent the most money, right? So kind of insane, and you can do that. But basically, we just upload that list. Facebook looks at the spreadsheet, and then it asks me to map out the fields. So it'll say this column, I basically just say this column is the name, this column is the email address, this column is the phone number, and then I upload that list. So once I've done that, then the question becomes, well, what do I send them? So let me just make sure we're clear. When I upload that list, it doesn't matter anymore whether they like my page or not, because the list becomes the targeting for the ad. It has nothing to do with how many people like my page. That's the value of this. So the funny thing is if you were to go look at a bunch of my clients' Facebook pages and look at the number of followers that they have, you would be absolutely unimpressed because most of them are going to be in the range of 1 to 200 people. But you're going to say, well, if they only have 1 to 200 people liking their page, how are they generating hundreds of leads every single month? Well, the answer to that question is we're paying money to get the ads beyond that 1 to 200 people. That's the secret. So once we've done this, then the question becomes, well, what kind of content do we send out to these people? Well, if you want my honest opinion, because these are your relationships, the people that know, like, and trust you, I firmly believe that it doesn't matter. It's just being in front of them, right? But let me give you some examples. So this is an example where I had a client that was putting together a market analysis. She just had somebody take a picture of her at the computer, and this was the text. Hey, I was just putting together a market analysis for a client. Since real estate values change all the time, if you're curious about your value in today's market, let me know. I'll be happy to put one together for you as well. So that was the entire ad. The targeting for that ad was her SOI list. It was about 400 people, so that cost her roughly $4 to send that ad to those people. She got 3 market analyses out of them. 2 of them turned into listings. Not bad for a $4 ad. Here's something that another one of my clients did. So this was kind of like an end of year piece where they had put together basically a map of all the transactions they had done during the year. And it was just a gratitude piece. Hey, we want to thank you for a great year. You know, here's what we were able to accomplish with your help. We appreciate your support. We're looking forward to a great next year. Right? Does this build credibility? You bet it does, right? People realizing that you're the go-to real estate professional. So things like this are great. Another thing that you can do, I'm a huge proponent of video. We're going to talk more about video in today's class, but for our purposes right now, videos are great. If people can see your face and hear your voice and know what you're all about, it is such a powerful tool for building trust and building relationships. So think about any of those questions that people ask you on a daily basis. You know, how's the market doing? Are prices going to drop in 2021? You know, how do I compete when there's so little inventory and there's multiple offers? You know, think about any of those questions people ask you on a daily basis, and any of those topics are great for a video. But again, video is awesome. Again, it's just such a powerful tool to keep in front of people. But again, I firmly believe that it doesn't matter. It's just that action of keeping in front of people so you stay top of mind. This whole concept is something that I'd like to call mental envelopes. We have mental envelopes of how we categorize things in our head. So if I were to say best fast food restaurant, for whatever reason, there's someone in that slot for you, whether it's, I don't know, McDonald's or Taco Bell or I don't know, whatever your preference is. There's somebody that holds that top spot in your head, right? If I say hotel chain, you know, Marriott or I don't know, whatever it is that's top of mind for you, car rental company, et cetera, et cetera. What we're doing through this repetitive style of advertising is we are purchasing that mental envelope in their head for real estate. So that when real estate comes to mind, you're the person that they think of. Again, that doesn't happen with any one ad. It's all of them. It's the sum total, the repetition of it. That's what makes this work. Okay, so that's the first piece of the formula, is being able to send ads to this list of contacts that I've uploaded. Okay, the second piece of this is sending messages, right? We talked about sending messages to people through Facebook a couple times a year. So this is really the equivalent of thank you cards. I'm sure you've been to some kind of real estate training where they advise you to send, you know, a handwritten thank you card a couple times every week or whatever, right? This is the same thing. It's just the digital equivalent. But the reason that I like it is because it's faster, it's more personal, it's immediate, and I can use video for even more impact. See, with a thank you card, I'm limited to just that card. With social media, I'm not limited. I can send whatever it is that I want. So inside Messenger, there's this little camera icon, and if you click on that, you can not only take a picture, but there's an option of being able to send video. So again, think about how powerful a little 10-second video is. You know, hey, John, it's been a while since we talked. Just wanted to check. Hope the family's doing well. Hey, when you get a moment, love to hear how you're doing. Right? So super powerful. One of the things that comes up all the time when I talk about reaching out to people on social media is they always say, well, Kevin, what am I supposed to say to them? Here's the best news possible. Facebook will cheat for you and tell you what you should be talking to people about, because people share their life on social media, right? When their kids are graduating school, they take that picture and post it. When Sally had a dance recital, they take a picture of that and they post it. They go on vacation, they post that. They go out to eat, they take a picture of what they're eating, they post that, right? When you're scrolling through your feed on Facebook, those are prime opportunities just to reach out to somebody, send them a message and just say, hey, it looks like you had a great vacation. You know, I'd love to hear about it when you have a moment. So what I find is if you're reaching out to people and all you're talking about is real estate, it doesn't build relationships, and that's what we're after. So if all you're doing is selling, 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 you're going to find that people stop responding because they don't want to be sold to. So my advice is whatever you would say to a friend, that's what you should be saying. This is about friendships. You'll find as you reach out to people, the conversation will turn inevitably to real estate because they're going to be seeing all these ads that are going on over here, right? You don't have to talk about it. They're going to see you all the time. They're going to know you're in real estate, and the conversation will trend that way. But let them bring it up, because then you're not that pushy salesperson. That would be my recommendation. Okay, the third piece of this formula is recognizing them on their birthday. So Facebook makes birthdays easier than it's ever been. If you click on this section that says events, you can go to birthdays. It'll pull up a chronological list of everybody's birthday throughout the year. Okay, now, if you've ever been on social media and it's your birthday, you know what happens. You get 1,000,001, comments and messages from people, and 99% of them all say the same 2 words, happy birthday. That's typically as much effort and thought as people put into this. So guess what I recommend not doing? Don't do that, right? Be different. If that's all you do, you're just going to get lost in that sea of messages, right? So then the question becomes, okay, how can I do this in a way that's going to be pretty quick? Well, my recommendation for this is to use birthday memes, right? Memes, M-E-M-E. If you're unfamiliar with what that is, I'm sure you know what it is, you just don't know the term. A meme is just a picture with some kind of funny little message, right? If you go to Google and you search for birthday memes, you'll find websites that have hundreds of them, and you can just download them, right? My recommendation is find 5 or 10 of them that you think are funny, that kind of fit your personality. Just save them to a folder on your computer. And anytime it's somebody's birthday, you can just attach an image and then put whatever message you want with it. It's going to take you a couple of seconds is it. So just go find a couple of these messages that are consistent with your personality, things that you think are funny, right? There's all kinds of them. And in fact, let me tell you a little story about this one. So my birthday is in September. This is actually a meme that somebody sent me on my birthday. And amidst that sea of messages, do you think this stood out? You bet it did. The funniest part about this meme is that is actually the real estate agent. Like, this isn't a picture of someone, this is a picture of him, right? So that is absolutely going to stand out. Do what you want. I've had some clients who have recorded themselves singing happy birthday, and they'll just sing happy birthday without putting a name on it, right? And then they can use that for everybody, and that's what they send people. But again, with 5 to 10 minutes of planning, you can make birthdays really, really simple and be able to stand out in a way that makes things really easy. Some of the clients that I have, they'll go to the trouble of sending people a birthday card in the mail. If you want to do that, great, right? Anything that you do to recognize people is only going to help you. So if you want to do that, go for it. But I'm just showing you ways that you can easily do this through Facebook. Okay. So birthday memes, that would be my recommendation. It's just a super easy way to take care of it. Okay, the fourth piece of the puzzle is doing appreciation events. I know that's, I'm starting to see some agents do them, but I know because of COVID, most people right now aren't. If things change and gathering becomes easier and safer, I highly, highly, highly recommend client appreciation events. I know so many people that that's the foundation of their business. I've got one client, and I kid you not, 100% of the marketing that they do every year, they do a quarterly appreciation event. And that's 100% of the marketing that they do. They grow 60% every year just from those events, because they put on a great event. People bring the whole family, they love it, and they talk about it, right? So client appreciation events, like I said, if we do get back to that, it doesn't have to be something that's super expensive. Team up with other agents in the brokerage, share some expenses. I've had clients that have done, like you see here, where they rent out the community pool. People go to like the pumpkin mazes and stuff like that around the fall. Had one client that rented out a movie theater when a brand new movie came out and told everybody to come and bring their family. One of the things that was cool about that, as far as what he did to lower his costs, was number one, obviously theaters are in a different business model these days, but back in the day, they usually had one day a week where the tickets were discounted, right? So he rented out the theater on one of those nights, and that automatically cut his cost. He partnered up with his lender, where the lender was also inviting their clients to the event, and that halved his cost. So he rented out a theater. It was about 200 people capacity, I think is what it was. And between everything that I've mentioned, deferring costs, it cost him about $350 to do that, right? So pretty inexpensive. And from that movie, he picked up 7 new pieces of business. Not bad for a $350 expense. So like I said, I'm a huge believer in those just because it gets you FaceTime with people. Relationships are the name of the game. So that would be my recommendation. And one of the things that's great from a Facebook perspective is there is a specific type of ad that we can run for event responses. So we can set up the event as an event on Facebook. And what happens is Facebook has a built-in reminder system where it will remind people leading up to the event, hey, you said you were interested, you said you were going, and Facebook will optimize the ad for that purpose. So it becomes really powerful, right? So this is my recommendation for client marketing. The reason why I spend so much time on this section in this class is simply because for almost all of you, if you did something along these lines where you're consistently marketing to your clients, you would instantly see the needle in your business move, because these are people that already know, like, and trust you at some level, right? It's just a matter of consistently marketing to those people. So as a quick story, this is a guy, he's in Fort Worth, Texas, somebody that I worked with. Like some of you, he's one of those agents who had been in the business 20 plus years. And he had this huge database of people that he knew. He had lived in the community a long time. And I asked him what he was doing to market to those people. Guess what he said? Nothing, right? He wasn't doing anything. I taught him how to get really focused, and almost 100% of everything that we did was just being really focused on that group of people. He took his business from doing 150 a year to 450 in 1 year. So again, this is the kind of results that you can have when people already know, like, and trust you. It's just leveraging the relationships and knowing how to get in front of them. And that's where the mechanics of Facebook come in. I firmly believe it's the cheapest client drip system that you'll ever create ever. So I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Okay, any questions on client or relationship marketing? Okay, perfect. Lead source number 3, again, going back to, we're building this database. So the first group of people we added to the database were people that were clicking on our lead ads. The second source of people that we're adding to the database were our SOI, our relationships. The third group of people is people that are engaging on Facebook. Now, Facebook defines engagement as one of these 4 things: clicks, likes, comments, and shares. So any of those 4 things are considered engagement on Facebook. Now, the thought process is this. If people are clicking and commenting and liking and sharing, if they're doing those things, these are the people that like you the most, that like the information that you're putting out. And therefore, that's someone we want to keep in front of over and over and over again. So that's why we want to create an audience of people that have engaged. Now, some of the things that we can do for this, here's an example. I had a client put together a list of homes that have a mother-in-law, right? That's a feature that often is looked for. And so we just simply put out this ad. You can see that with the ad down at the bottom, 25,000 people saw the ad. That has nothing to do with how many followers she has on her page. We paid to get it out in front of that many people. But 165 people engaged with it, clicked, liked, commented, or shared. That's 165 people that are now going into her database where we can repetitively stay in touch with them, right? And so what ends up happening is when we run ads, again, your engagement rate increases. So you can see here with these paid ads, the 4 that are at the top, you can see the engagement rate that just goes up insanely high. And the better the content is, typically the more people will engage with it. But the more we can get people engaging, the longer we can keep in front of them. And again, those 2 ads that I'm showing you at the top, the one where 1,700 people saw it and we had 67 and 4 people engage, and then 1,100 people saw it, the next one down where 244 saw it and 30. A lot of people think, well, man, you must have spent a ton of money on that. Let me peel back the covers. Those 2 highlighted were spent on those 2 ads. So to add like 400 people to their database, what's the math there? About $62, $63, I think is what the math comes out to be. Again, you can do this on a very, very inexpensive budget. So some of the times what I hear from people is they'll say, well, Kevin, I'm new to the area. I don't really know anybody. I don't have an SOI. Great, build your own, right? All you have to do is start publishing content, send an ad to send it out to the masses, and let's let the people who are interested in real estate start responding and start building you a database, right? If you have an existing database, your job is so much easier, right? But if you don't have one, so what? Let's build one. It's not that hard. It's not that expensive, right? And that's, again, what I love about Facebook. So the way that we do this, again, it's going into the business manager account. I'm going into the audiences section. You've seen this screenshot several times because we've talked about setting up an audience for lead forms. We've talked about setting up an audience of a customer list that we upload. Now we're talking about your Facebook page, as you see circled here. So the default is anybody who engages with your page over the last 365 days. So again, the strategy is I want them to engage with the page because if they click or like or comment or share, now I can keep in front of them for the next year. And the moment they click, like, comment, share again, that counter resets every time they do that. Right? So with this audience set up, it's completely automated. I don't have to do anything. Anytime people engage, they're automatically being pulled into this list and I can keep marketing to them.
Kevin, I've got a question.
Sure.
Could this take the place of your CRM? And can this be or can this take that place?
Great question. It's not designed to be a CRM where I'm tracking names, phone numbers, email addresses, that kind of thing. So with these custom audiences, Facebook doesn't show me their contact information. It's just creating a list that I can easily market to. So where the CRM would still be valuable in your business is just having a central hub where you're keeping everybody's contact information. That's not what the purpose of this is. This is for marketing purposes. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
And can you transfer some of the information over into your CRM?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the lead ads where I'm capturing somebody's name, phone number, email address, so with a lot of my clients, I set up integrations where once somebody fills out that form, the lead goes into a CRM where there's a follow-up system that's happening. You bet. So yeah, you can get that transferred over to your CRM. Yep. Okay. So anyway, this is the next part of our database that I want to build, is people that are engaging. Again, with a couple of minutes of setup, anybody that does anything automatically gets pulled into this list. I don't have to do anything once I've built it. Right. The fourth part of the database that I want to build are events. Now, again, with COVID, this is a little bit different than a little bit not as applicable, but that's okay. We'll still walk through the mechanics. So in most cases, my clients historically have used events on Facebook for 3 different things. One of them, as you see here, is for marketing open houses. So again, one of the great things about events on Facebook is Facebook has that built-in reminder system. If you've ever clicked on that you were interested in going to something, or you were going, you'll notice that you started receiving notifications leading up to that event, right? That's just part of what Facebook does automatically. And so when people say they're interested in an open house, Facebook starts reminding them leading up to it. Okay. So here's an example of an open house that I helped someone market. You'll notice the insights off to the right are the stats. So 11,200 people saw that ad. We've already talked about it. Roughly, it costs about 1 cent. So if 11,000 people saw it, they spent about $112 on that ad. That was roughly their budget for this. You'll notice there were 42 responses. Now, are all 42 of those people going to show up? You and I both know the answer to that question is no, right? Some people that, you know, the kids got sick, or I don't know, any number of things happens and they just don't show up. But who cares? Let's say that let's be crazy and say only 1/4 of those people show up, right? That's 10, 11 more people showing up at your open house than you would have had anyway. So my question is, would you spend $100 to have 10, 11 extra people at your open house? I'm sure you would, right? Those numbers just make sense, right? So this is one of the things I love about Facebook. Again, extremely inexpensive marketing. So one of the things we use events for is marketing open houses. A second thing that my clients have used events for is marketing like a home buying seminar. So like a first-time buyer class, those kinds of things, right? So here's a screenshot of that. And again, you'll notice they spent roughly $52. So $52 is what it would cost to get in front of 5,200 people. And they had 27 responses. Again, let's be crazy. Let's say only 8 or 9 of those people show up. So what? Would you spend $50 to get in front of 8 or 9 potential buyers? Of course you would, right? It's just crazy. So this is another thing that my clients have historically used Facebook ads for, is marketing an event. The third thing, we've already talked about it, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time, but the third thing my clients will use events for is marketing like a client appreciation event. Again, not as applicable today, but if that ever changes, again, it's a great opportunity. So again, it's the same concept. We go back to the ads inside our business manager account. We go to the audiences section. We're going to create a custom audience. This one is going to be based off of event responses. Again, it's the same screen you're seeing over and over again. I'm just creating an audience based on different activities, different actions. In this case, it's the people who have responded that they're going to either be going or not going. And the nice thing about this is a lot of times when you have a sign-in sheet at an open house, sometimes people either don't want to fill it out or they just give you false information, right? Well, the nice thing about this is I can keep in front of them whether they decided to fill out my open house sheet or not, right? I'm going to be able to keep running ads and keep in front of those people. It's like a built-in follow-up system. Makes things really, really nice. So that's going to be the next section of the database that I want to build inside Facebook, are people that are responding to my events. Okay, the fifth section is people who are watching videos. I mentioned this earlier, but I'm a huge fan of videos, right? These are the reasons why I love videos. People get to see, know, like, and trust you. That face and name recognition is a big deal. It builds authority because you're able to share information and they see you as the real estate professional, and you're just able to build trust. Like I said, at the end of the day, real estate, 9 times out of 10, people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So to the extent that we can get them to know, like, and trust you, again, that only helps you. And I've never found any content better to achieve that goal than video. So if that causes a little bit of panic and you're like, oh, Kevin, I hate the way that I look and sound on video, my answer to that is join the club. I think everybody feels that way. And at the end of the day, the truth is nobody cares other than you. So the sooner you can get over that hump, the better. I do tons of video for my business. I have a YouTube channel with hundreds of videos in there. I've been doing this for years, and I still hate the way that I look and sound, right? I'm not past that yet. I've just learned that it doesn't matter. So like I said, the sooner you can get to that point, because where most people lose time with video is they record one, and then they watch it and they hate it, and then they re-record and they watch that one and hate it, and they just keep repeating this process. All they're doing is wasting a bunch of time on things that frankly don't matter. Now, I normally have this video that I play. I'm not sure if it'll play over Zoom, so I'll skip it. But basically, this is a market update video. And the reason I like showing this particular video is because a lot of people get hung up on things that don't matter. So one of the areas where people get hung up is they think they have to have the perfect equipment, the perfect backdrop. They have to look perfect. You know, they've got this image of what they think the video should be. And so if it doesn't match that, then they just, they just delete it and they get frustrated. The reason I like showing this video is because from a production standpoint, it's so stupid simple that it's not impressive even a little bit. Right? He's literally using the camera in his laptop to record this. That's the equipment that he's using. He's sitting in his kitchen. He stutters. He says the wrong things during the video. He doesn't edit any of that out. And frankly, it doesn't matter. In the last few months, he's done millions of dollars of transactions, all from his videos. And everybody who contacts him, they all say the same thing. They say, I've been watching your videos for months, and we were just waiting until we were ready to do something, and you're the agent that I want to work with. Right? Again, they were watching him for months before that happened. This is why I believe slow and steady wins the race every single time. It's the consistency that makes this work. Right? So again, I could show you the video, you'd totally be unimpressed, and that's the whole point. There is nothing special going on here. So don't get caught up in thinking you have to have the best camera. If you have a cell phone that's been made in the last couple of years, you probably have a really good camera sitting in your pocket. Right? You're gonna have everything that you need. Just record, hit the record button. Don't worry about the fear, just move on. Videos are super, super powerful. Right? As far as what to record, you know, market updates. People are always asking you what's going on in the market. So market updates are a big thing. I talked about answering questions that people have. Those are great topics as well. Again, the simple answer I would give you is think about the questions anybody asks you. That is perfect content for a video. On my own YouTube channel, I will tell you that 80% of the videos that I record come from questions people ask me, right? That's where the idea for that video came from. I would just recommend the same thing for you. It's a constant source of new content for your business. Now, it's just a fast, inexpensive way to build. So this particular client right here, he does a lot of farming on Facebook. So you can see he's marketing Sandy here. He just repetitively keeps marketing this geographical area over and over again. You'll be surprised, his budget for doing that, he's spending a massive $2 per day. So he's spending $60 a month. And you can see here, his average, he's usually getting what he's getting for $60 a month. He's normally getting in front of about 1,500 to 2,000 people watching those videos per month. That's pretty much the norm that you'll see. And it's just an easy way to start building up this audience, start building up this database. right? So here you can see his ad budget. Again, he's normally spending $2 per day per video, spending about $60 a month to keep in front of those audiences. That's why I said you can really scale this to whatever level you want to scale this.
Kevin, I have a question on that really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Is that how many people his videos are getting in front of, or is that how many are actually watching them?
Great question. So if you look at this screenshot with the ad account, see the column that says reach? Reach is the number of people who saw the video. It's not measuring whether they watched it, it's just how many people saw it. The next column over is impressions, which is how many times the video was shown. So with that first one that's highlighted, what that's telling you is 2,033 people saw it, and they saw it 5,028 times. So some of those people saw it 2-3 times. And I'll be the first to tell you, a little repetition is a good thing.
Okay.
Right. Now, there's other things that are measuring how much of it they watched. You can't really see it on that particular screenshot, but that's the way that we set up our custom audience. So again, I'm going to set up a custom audience to track who's watching videos. And I can set it up with whatever I want, but the normal metric that I use is someone who's watched at least 25%.
Okay.
So my thought process is if they've watched at least 25%, those are going to be my more interested people, and those are the ones I want to keep in front of.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yep. So again, I set up a custom audience to track that. That's the metric I use, people who have watched at least 25%. And then that's the name I call this audience. Any video view, 25%, 365 days. So again, if they're watching a video in a 1-year period, it pulls them into this audience, it resets that counter, and it's the way that I build my database and just repetitively keep in front of people. Okay, the sixth source of people that I want to build inside this are people that are going to my website. So frequently, people will go to your website for one of these 3 reasons. Either number one, they're using the IDX feed on your website where they're searching for properties, or they go to your website to request a market analysis, or they're going to your website just to learn more about you and kind of figure out who you are. Frankly, any of those reasons, I don't care. Those are people I want to be in front of if they're going to my website for those reasons, right? So what Facebook allows us to do is we can track who's going to certain websites based on some tools that Facebook gives us for that. If you're familiar with the term cookies where websites are concerned, cookies are just tracking code. That's all it is, right? It's tracking how long you're spending on the site and what pages you're going to, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're familiar with the term cookies, Facebook has its own version of cookies. They just call it something else. It's called a Facebook pixel. So the pixel is the tracking code that we install on your website that lets us be able to market to people that have been to your website. Okay, now installing the pixel is a little technical, and it's way more than what I can get into on a class like this. But when you create the pixel inside your Business Manager account, it's going to ask you how you want to install it on your website. So the first option talks about partner integrations. They have integrations with some of the bigger website platforms out there, like WordPress and Shopify. You can see some of the ones that are listed there. I would suspect for most of you that have like an out-of-the-box website, IDX feed type of website, none of you are going to use that option, right? The second option talks about manually installing the pixel code on your website. I would suspect most of you are not programmers, don't even know what that means, and so don't bother. I mean, if you really want to figure it out, go for it, but it's probably not worth your time. Okay, the option that I would recommend is that bottom one that says email instructions to a developer. So if you have a website where it's an out-of-the-box solution, like pro agent websites or I don't know, there's tons of them out there, right? But if you have any of those out-of-the-box solutions, you normally have like an account rep or a tech support line or whatever. All you have to do is contact them, whoever it is that manages your site, And all you have to tell them is, I want to install the Facebook pixel on my website. That's all you have to tell them. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. Email them the instructions and let them take care of it. It's really the easiest way, right? The hardest part is just getting a hold of tech support or whoever it is that's managing the website. But that's the option that's really the easiest, is just email them the instructions, let them do it for you. So what ends up happening is you'll be able to, what I have circled here, I have this little Chrome plugin that I've installed on my browser. It's called Facebook Pixel Helper. If you want to download it, go for it. It doesn't do much. The only thing that it does is it will tell you whether a pixel has been installed on the website or not. So what you're seeing is a screenshot of my website. You can see that, you know, that little icon that I've circled, it's got a number 2 on it, which means it's picking up pixel data, right? And then once it's been installed, you'll be able to start seeing statistics about how many people have been going to your site and et cetera, right? So that is what I highly recommend. But again, the whole thought process being, people going to your website are better prospects than most. Those are people I want to keep in front of. So it's the same thing. I'm going to create a custom audience. This one is based on website traffic. And the pixel is what it's measuring. So once that's been installed correctly on your site, that's everything that you need to do. You're just going to come in, create this. It'll let you, Facebook will allow you to track those people for 180 days. So for 6 months from the point that they've been to your website, we can keep marketing to them inside this audience. And that's what I call this audience. I just call it website visitors 180 days. That tells me exactly who these people are. Okay. So that's the 6th part of the funnel that we want to build. The 7th part of the funnel, this is the last one, which is Instagram engagement. So one of the great things about Facebook is they have purchased Instagram, they own it. And so the 2 systems are combined, especially when you're running ads. If you want your ads on Facebook to also go to Instagram, it is literally as simple as checking a box when you're setting up the ad. So when you're creating the ad, there's a section where it says placements, you know, where do you want the ad to show up? One option says Instagram, you check the box, and it's as simple as that. Now, with that being said, we can measure Instagram engagement just like we measure Facebook page engagement. So here you're seeing a picture of an open house. The part I really want you to focus on is the likes. So it was liked by 1,758 people. That engagement allows us to keep in front of those people. So it's the same thing you've already seen. You've probably seen this a ton, but it's how we build our database, right? This one is going to be based on our Instagram profile. Okay. In order to do this, your Instagram profile does have to be a business profile. Can't be a personal one. Again, it doesn't cost you anything to change it. You just go into your Instagram settings and change it to a business profile, but that's what makes it work with this. Okay. And it's the same thing. Anybody who's engaged with your Instagram profile over the next 365 days, the moment they click like, comment, share, the moment they do any of those things, it automatically pulls them into this audience. Okay. And so with that, what ends up happening is with all of these different custom audiences, we end up building this huge database. One of my clients that I work with right now, he told me that last year, he's been in the business 20 plus years. Last year in working together, he told me that last year was his busiest year that he's ever had. In fact, he beat his normal year by June. So 6 months into the year, he had already surpassed his busiest year. Now, obviously, some of that had to do with market activity and just the market being crazy. But the other part of it is he's now got a marketing system that's running his business. So the whole concept is we've created all these custom audiences that are tracking everything that's going on. As people engage, as people go to your website, as people watch videos, as they do all these things we've talked about, Facebook starts grabbing those people and pulling them into these different audiences. So now when I run an ad, these are the audiences of people that I'm targeting, these people that have seen my stuff over and over and over again. Right? This becomes the marketing database. And then it just goes back to that simple principle that I taught you at the beginning of class, which hopefully is going to make a lot more sense now. Remember how I talked about we run 2 ads at all times. One ad is going out to a new audience of people with the intent of getting them to do any of these things so that they get added to the database. There's a second ad that's going out to these people already in these database, in these different custom audiences, that is my database, just to repetitively market, build trust, build credibility, get them to know, like, and trust you. Right? And again, I showed this slide to you at the beginning of class, but now it's going to make a lot more sense. There's all kinds of different content and different things that we can do. I've shown you examples of almost every single one of these, right? But we do different ads and different kinds of posts for different purposes. But it's simple. I do one to add new people to the database so it's constantly filling up. And I do a second one to keep in front of the people already in there to build trust, build credibility, get them to the point where they feel comfortable doing business with me. And that's the entire strategy. So again, once you have set up these custom audiences, you've done all the heavy lifting. At that point, it's just doing your 2 ads a week, which is going to take you less than an hour of time per week. See, one of the things I love about this strategy is, in most cases, a real estate agent's production over time, it looks something like this, right? There's highs and lows, highs and lows. And the reason why is, if you walk through the cycle, here's what typically happens with most real estate agents. They get to a low point where they don't have a lot of business going on. I like to call that the oh crap phase. Oh crap, I don't have a lot going on, right? And so when agents hit that point, they start doing lots of calling, lots of marketing, lots of prospecting. They're doing all that activity to pick up some clients. And it works, and now they've got people that they're working with, right? They hit this high, but they're so busy working with their buyers and sellers that now they don't have time to do what got them the buyers and sellers, right? They don't have time to market and to prospect and do all those things. So they get this high point, all that business closes. Now they're back down here again, the oh crap phase, and we just keep repeating this process. What I love about what I'm teaching you is, by spending an hour of your time per week, it frees up your time so that the ads are doing the heavy lifting of marketing and prospecting for you, right? It's time freedom. Instead of it taking your time to generate business, now it's just taking a little bit of your money. And you'll find that in all cases, money is not as valuable as your time. Your time is way more valuable than money. So to the extent that you can free yourself up and take those lows out of your business, it's just a huge, huge advantage. So once we have created this, then it's just a question of, well, for the people who are inside my database, what kind of marketing do I do? Well, here's an example, right? One of the types of content that I love for people inside the database is business activity. So just listed, just sold, under contract, those kinds of things. Because it's credibility, right? People see that you're active, that you're successful, that people like to work with you. And it's great, great content. So with an ad like this, the targeting are all of those custom audiences that we just created, right? That's who is receiving that ad. So there's all kinds of things that can be done. Frankly, your imagination is the limit, but it's just this mechanic of one ad going out to a new audience to add them to the database, the second ad taking care of the people inside the database. That's the entire marketing system that I want to teach you. Right? So that would be my recommendation. We got 5 minutes left, so just to finish up, I'll finish up with this quote. So Barbara Corcoran, I think most of you know her, Shark Tank. She's she made her money in the real estate industry. But this is a great quote. She just said, when you're building a business, you're either all in or you're not. And the reason I like to finish up with a quote like this is because I know from teaching thousands of real estate agents that when you go to a class like this, some of this is going to go over your head. Some of it you really like and you're going to start implementing. You've seen some great ideas, things that got you excited. But typically what happens is only a very small percentage of people will actually start implementing it with their business. So my recommendation and what I would advise anybody is, if you have seen something that makes sense and you're thinking, man, that would be a great thing to add to my business, don't think about it, just do it, right? Be all in, be committed. And that's where you'll see the greatest success. So one of the things that I can offer you to help you be all in, this is a free resource, is my YouTube channel. So my YouTube channel, you'll see the name right there. It's my name and my company name. So 2Q Lead Generation Strategies with Kevin Smolin. I have hundreds of videos on that channel, all completely free. And most of them are tutorial style, where it's me at my computer and I'm literally showing you how to set things up click by click by click. So if you're looking for the tutorials of how to do this, or if you want some different ideas, different things that you know, you can use to help grow your business, this is an immediate resource I would point you to. And you know, tons of information there. Feel free to use it. Help you grow your business. So with that, that's today's class. Again, the whole concept is how to create a business inside Facebook where you're just repetitively marketing to people and it's not taking a ton of your time. It's 2 posts per week. Again, you should be able to do that in an hour of time per week. All your marketing is being done. The ads are doing the heavy lifting by showing it to people, and you get the benefit of being able to go about your day doing what you want to do. So that is the entire class. I'll stick around for a few minutes and answer questions if you have any. But other than that, I'll turn it back over to you. And if there's anything you want to add, Leslie.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was great and very informative. So if any of you have any questions for Kevin before he disappears, ask away.
Hey, Kevin, I have a question.
Sure.
What is one of the best days to do these ads? Do you do them all on like a Monday or a Friday? What is the best?
Oh, so the short answer to your question is it doesn't matter. I just recommend scheduling it. So normally the ads that I run are a week at a time. So when I set up an ad on Monday, I'll have it run from Monday to the next Monday. And then that's my trigger to set up the next one, right? So whether you want to run a schedule from Monday to Monday, Wednesday to Wednesday, whatever works for you. But what I recommend is budget it or just schedule it, because I don't know how you are, but in my world, if I don't schedule it, it doesn't get done.
Yeah.
So if you just say that, you know, Monday morning, first time I wake, you know, first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock, you know, I'm going to pound out my 2 ads and then my marketing for the week is done. Then if that works for you, then great.
Okay. Thanks.
Sarah asked, do I have 2 more code words? Yeah, I totally forgot about that. So karate number 1, Facebook number 2, and karate, Facebook, and sure, we'll go Kevin. Kevin number 3. Karate, Facebook, Kevin. Thanks for catching me on that, Sarah.
If we want to meet with you and schedule time with you, do we just email you to get your rates and that?
Yeah, so all the contact information you see right there on the screen, that's my cell phone. You can feel free to call, text, email me, whatever's easier. But yeah, if you have questions about this, I mean, so the short answer is it's a CE class. I can't sell during it, so I'm not going to. But
Yeah.
I am going to say there might be a reason we know so much about this.
Right.
we kind of do this for people. So yeah, if you're curious about those services, just reach out to me. Happy to set up a time and answer any questions you have.
Thank you.
Yep. Who do we send the keywords to? I have no idea. Do you have an answer for that, Leslie?
Hang on a minute. Okay, there we go. I think you're all Presidio agents, right? Is there any on here that are not Presidio agents? If you're not, type in the box. If not, we'll send something out to you. Bless you.
So again, I understand the point of the keywords, just checking if people are listening and their activity level. I don't know. I guess I'm weird. I normally just look at the log time of how long people have been on the Zoom meeting, and that allows me to see. I mean, yeah, they could have been sleeping or whatever, but I guess I don't care that much. If you want to sleep through your CE, that's more your problem than mine.